Two men, Banner and Gray, were hitchhiking on a deserted road, but not a single car stopped. They were tired. Their legs ached from walking. The sun was setting fast, and they had to find a lodging for the night. They came to an old, abandoned house and decided to take refuge inside. The garden is overgrown with weeds and shrubs. The door on its rusty hinges creaked, and a dusty carpet lay on the floor. The men took a few cans from their backpacks and ate a little. Then they unfolded their blankets on the floor, made themselves comfortable, and fell asleep. In the middle of the night, Gray suddenly awoke from a restless sleep. It was dark and he was shivering from the cold. Suddenly he heard a strange noise. It was a shrill whistle. Suddenly he saw his friend. Banner stood in the shadows, listening. He looked like he was in some sort of trance. Then the man began to slowly walk up the stairs, his boots creaking on the wooden steps. The piercing whistle intensified. Gray wanted to shout to his friend to come back, but the words stuck in his throat. The banner continued up the stairs and eventually disappeared from view. Suddenly the footsteps stopped and Gray held his breath. He waited and waited. Then he heard a terrible scream that shattered the silence of the night and nearly made him jump out of his skin. Then the steps resumed, but they were already down the stairs. Gray trembled with fear as he saw a pair of boots slowly making their way down the stairs. In the moonlight, he could see a hand feeling for the railing. A terrible chill ran down Gray's back as he saw the other hand. She was clutching a bloody axe. Then he saw the face of his friend. It was deathly pale. His eyes were glassy, and his mouth was twisted into a disgusting grin. Blood was dripping from his forehead from a huge wound that almost split his skull in half. Gray let out a chilling scream and ran out of the house. He ran blindly through the pitch blackness of the night, desperately trying to get further away from the old house. He ran and ran, all the while imagining that his friend was chasing him with a bloody axe and a bloody head and his terrible death grin. He ran and ran until he collapsed exhausted. In the morning, he managed to find the police station and told the sheriff what he saw. Together they returned to the old house to check it out. Gray broke out in a cold sweat at the thought of what they might find there. The sheriff opened the creaking door and peered inside. Gray glanced nervously over his shoulder. On the floor he saw his friend. Banner lay face down in a pool of blood, his head almost split in half. His dead hand still gripped the axe handle. The blade of the axe was stuck in the floor, in the very place where Gray's head lay at night. The sheriff searched the house from top to bottom, but did not find a single living soul. Once a little girl was left at home alone. Her mother went to work. When Mother came to the front door, she warned the girl, "If you hear a knock on the door, do not answer it." The girl spent most of the day alone, watching TV, playing computer games, and getting her nails done. Suddenly her phone rang. The number was hidden. She answered the bell, and a strange, creaky voice said, "Black Wheels. Black Wheels. Found your city, looking for your street." The girl did not understand. She thought that this creepy voice was very strange, but decided that maybe someone had dialed the wrong number. 5 minutes later, her phone rang again, and a voice shouted, "Black Wheels. Black Wheels. Found your street, looking for your house." The girl was frightened. She did not know what to do. She rushed up the stairs to her bedroom and hid under the bed. Suddenly her phone rang again, and her voice shouted, "Black Wheels. Black Wheels. Found your home, looking for your door." Then the girl heard an ominous knock on the door. She crept down the stairs. She heard the knock on the door again, louder this time. She looked out the peephole but could not see anyone outside. The girl stretched, turned the handle, and opened the front door. A few hours later, the girl's mother returned from work and found the front door wide open. She rushed inside and screamed when she saw the horrific scene. The girl lay dead on the floor. Her body was flat, and there were tire marks all over her body. But the worst thing is that the big black wheel is stuck in her mouth. One night, the girl Lida, who was 15 years old, was walking home from her friend. She turned down a narrow street to take a short cut and shuddered when she saw an old man standing in her way. When she stopped, the old man turned to her and said in a hoarse voice, "Tell me the way." His face was disgusting, his skin covered with scars and boils, his hair was greasy and uncombed, his eyes bulged terribly, almost popped out of their sockets. Lydia was horrified. She was alone in a dark, narrow alley with this strange and anxious old man. Her heart raced, and it took her a few seconds to catch her breath. "Tell me the way," demanded the old man. "Where are you going?" Lydia asked nervously. When the old man told her the address he was looking for, a chill ran down her spine. This was her home. "I don't know where it is," she answered curtly. Then she passed the old man and ran down the alley. Glancing back, she saw him standing in the alley, watching her run. Lydia was so agitated by the incident that she didn't stop until she got back to her house. With a sigh of relief, she pulled out her keys. She looked up and down the street to make sure the old man hadn't followed her. The street was empty. She turned the key, unlocked the door, and flung it open. "Tell me the way." A hoarse voice rang out from the darkness. Two young brothers were at home alone in the apartment while their parents visited their neighbors next door for a while. To keep themselves occupied, the boys decided to play a game of hide and seek. The older boy turned his head to the wall and began to count. "Ready or not, I'm coming," cried the older brother, and off he went looking for his brother. The apartment was eerily silent. He heard a scraping sound coming from the wardrobe. The boy went anyway and called out, "Come out, I found you." But there was only silence. Opening the door, the boy began to rise up and put his hand out into the mass of clothing to feel for his little brother, when a small, white, icy cold hand came out, grabbed his wrist, and tried to pull him into the closet. As he is trying to pull himself free, he hears a noise behind him, looks over his shoulder, and sees his brother behind him. "Couldn't you find me?" asks the boy.